Early in the show, we showed you how to roast sweet meat squash, and we pureed it, and we have the finished product now, and we're actually ready to incorporate it into a recipe. And William, I think you've got a recipe. We're going to give it a shot here.
I do. You know, this has been in my family for many, many years. We have it every Thanksgiving. It's called a pumpkin roll. It's really good and, you know, surprisingly simple. And with the help of Chef David here, we're going to start it up now. The first thing you do is you take 3 eggs and 3/4 cup sugar, and you put the eggs in and beat them for 5 minutes. And while you're beating them, you add the sugar slowly. But you know, Chef David, I don't know what that means, really. I've always just guessed as I've done it myself with the recipe.
I think the main thing that you're trying to do in this is that you're trying to get some air into the eggs, and it's going to give a little bit of lift. So instead of having a real thick, dense cake, you're going to have a nice, light, airy cake.
Okay, well, let's turn that on.
And what are the other ingredients that we're going to be using?
Well, we've got the pumpkin, of course, the fresh pumpkin we made, which is the 2/3 cup of that, and just about a teaspoon of lemon juice. And then we've got 3/4 cup flour and some salt, baking powder, and then ginger, cinnamon, and a little nutmeg.
All right, well, I'll start slowly adding a little bit of sugar here.
All right, Chef David, now, that's 5 minutes.
5 minutes, all right, we'll stop. So what's going in next?
Now we're going to add the pumpkin and the lemon juice.
Okay, and then we're just going to mix those in.
Just blend those into the mixture that's in there.
Okay, give that a little mix too, and then as soon as that gets mixed, then
we have our dry ingredients. Now, you know, Chef David, it says in the recipe, and it always has, that we should sift these together, but I think, isn't it okay to put them in as long as they're blended well?
I think as long as we blend well, this is pre-sifted flour, so that's okay. And we want to make sure your salt and your baking powder do get incorporated good. If you don't want lumps of baking powder, it doesn't taste really good. So we'll add that, and then we have some nutmeg, ginger, and cinnamon. That smells wonderful.
It does indeed.
All
It
right.
smells like the holidays.
It does. Okay, and then we're going to start adding our flour in, and then once it's incorporated, we're going to go ahead and add it onto our sheet pan. So William, does that look about right to you?
Yep, that looks like it right there.
Okay, so we're going to get ready now, and we're going to go straight onto that pan.
Now, Chef David, what we did with this pan, if I remember correctly, is we sprayed it first with some Pam, or greased it.
We did.
And then lined it with some parchment paper. You can also use wax paper.
Right. You want to try and definitely make sure that it doesn't stick. So that's all we're going to try and do on that. So you can grab the spatula there if you want, and you can smooth it out. So we're going to throw this in an oven, and it doesn't bake really long. And, you know, what are some tips that you have since you've been making this a while?
I remember when I was very young, like in my middle teens, I would always overcook it, because you cook it at 350, and it's the original recipe, oddly enough, and maybe that was when ovens didn't get as hot as they do now, that it was supposed to be 18 to 22 minutes. However, I found over time that always burned it, and I couldn't figure out why. So now we just use it for about 12 minutes, 10 to 15, depending on your oven. So once that's spread out.
Looks good. Okay, it smells great. I have one question. Where's the butter?
Well, there is no butter in this
There's no
recipe.
butter, but it's still going to be good?
Well, I lied. There is a little bit of butter in the cream cheese filling, but not in the cake itself. So yeah, I think that's ready to pop into the oven.
All right, let's go. So William, it's been 15 minutes. Does this look about done to you?
That looks perfect.
All right, let me get that down there. Here's another hot pad.
Now, one of the things you do once you get the cake out is you can immediately take it, and we put a little powdered sugar on a tea towel, and you just turn this over, and underneath it'll fall off. And then
So you don't even have to wait.
No, and Chef David, if you want to peel that paper off,
All right.
it's kind of a little warm, and sometimes it's hard to get it started on the corners because it is a thin roll. But once you get it started, it should peel off pretty easily.
Gotcha. It looked at first like it wasn't going to work, but it's going now.
Yeah, the edges are always a bit caked on, and it's all right, because don't forget that we're going to be covering this. And also, we didn't put nuts on this one, but you can, if you want to, sprinkle nuts. Now, I usually put pecans or walnuts. However, this year I got a little sassy, and I went with hazelnuts.
Well, I decided to skip the nuts because I think there's quite a few in my family.
That's funny. Now, once this is done, you just toss the paper aside, and then all you're going to do is fold the tea towel over and just start rolling it up, because that will create the form. And then after you get it rolled up, you can just set it up to the side or in the fridge, and that gives it its shape.
Okay.
And then once that's done, you would unroll it, and we happen to have one right here.
Because you're not going to put filling on that until it's cool.
Not yet. It has to cool.
Okay.
And then we have a cream cheese. We put cream cheese, some butter, vanilla, and powdered sugar.
Oh, that looks wonderful.
Then you just unroll it. Now, what you would do is unroll it, put the cream cheese filling on, and then just roll it back up. Put it in the fridge for a few hours, and that kind of firms it back up. And then
so we're going to take the ends off a little bit first?
Yeah, you can go ahead and do that. You just slice the ends off because they're going to be a little ugly, but that gives you a great reason to try it too.
Makes it a lot nicer looking. Okay.
And then you are ready to serve it, and it is wonderful. It's a great, let it become one of your family traditions. Easy and fun, and it looks really impressive.
Great. I'm going to try the end piece
right.
there.
What do you think?
It's great.
It is great,
I'm
isn't
not a big, huge pumpkin squash fan, but it's
So if we get that
good.
from you, Chef David, we got to be good too.
It's good.
So
Thank you.
You can try to start your own tradition this year with making the pumpkin roll. You can go to Garden Time Online to get the recipe because we have it right there for you.